What's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into your weekly dose of the rundown. Of course, joined in once again all the way from the 305, Mr. Hurricane himself, my co-host, my guy, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
Good, man. Ready for it's a fun week. First round of the playoffs. Ready to get into it.
Most def. Still got first round action too right now as we speak. We got Denver up against Utah. So do we want to start with like the recaps, or do we want to get into some news? What are you thinking?
I guess we get into the recaps. I guess because it's been a fun week of playoffs.
Well, we called one sweep, and that ended up happening. The Toronto Raptors swept the Brooklyn Nets. It kind of went like how we figured for the most part. Like we both said we thought it would be a little competitive with Karis LeVert in there. Some of the games weren't as competitive, but they swept them. They look very good doing it. And I mean, like, shout out to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, playing, without a bunch of guys that are usually in their rotation in their starting lineup. They came out there, and even though they got beat up, like they showed some heart. And I think that's why that's going to be a fun team to watch once they get back in there with, having Karis LeVert and adding Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and getting Spencer Dinwiddie back, DeAndre Jordan back in the lineup, and, finding that right coach. I really think they're probably going to bring Michael Beasley into that team as well in the year.
Yeah, I think like you said, we kind of expect them to get swept. They're just missing too many players. Joe Harris ended up going down, I think, sometime in Game 3. Torian Prince is not here. KD, Kyrie. I guess we can just go on and on about the people that they're missing. So it was just some people expect the Raptors to get to the finals, and then you think about the Nets missing all those players. It was kind of just maybe a little unfair, but like you said, shout out to the Nets for getting here, and they trying to make it a little bit competitive. Karis LeVert has some good games. I know he has some games where he got like 10 assists or maybe over 10 assists or something like that. So they tried their best out there. It was just they were just undermanned, and they had too many injuries and people missing the bubble and stuff like that. So they'll be great next year. They don't gotta worry about them too much. So the series was kind of like over with from the start, so I didn't really watch it too much. But shout out to the Nets.
Yeah, I caught it a little bit. Didn't watch it too much myself either, just because you expected it not to be too much of a competitive series. I feel like unless you were a Nets fan or a Raptors fan, you weren't really dialed into that. No disrespect, but I mean, shout out to the Nets, and they got their coaching search. We talked about that last week, how they're kind of trying to eye in on Greg Popovich. The interesting thing I saw got pulled up when Oklahoma City was actually going through their coaching search. Kevin Durant was like hoping they could kind of lure Popovich away from San Antonio there. So he kind of little deja vu, I guess you could say, with him, having a coaching search in a new area. Now they got a lot of talent. I just like I said last week, I think I didn't want to completely dismiss it because you never know. But I'm about 99.9% feeling like he either stays in San Antonio or he's retiring.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people kind of maybe feel the same way. He hasn't really shown no signs of wanting to leave San Antonio, and maybe they're about to be in a rebuild, and he doesn't want to be in a rebuild or anything like that. So maybe he does consider leaving a little bit. But I think that news is probably not too much news. I think everybody in the NBA would kind of want Popovich if he was available. So it's kind of the Nets side. He's, like you said, it's interesting that KD kind of wanted to get him back in 2015 when they're coaching search, which makes me think did he really consider going to the Spurs or things like that. So obviously he really likes Pop. I don't think they're going to be able to get him, but I guess it's good to put it out there. But I think every team would go after him if he was available.
Yeah, 100%. Getting in another sweep. The Philadelphia 76ers got swept by the Boston Celtics. I had it going 5. You said you had it going 6. I mean, they were undermanned without Simmons, and just really not having those perimeter shooters like they did a year ago. Embiid balled. He played he played well, and maybe not Superman performances, but he played well. Just wasn't enough to get it through. And I think what happened after that was what we had been saying. Brett Brown lost his job. They're going through a coaching search now as well, and some people sit and say, you got to blow it up. You're not going to blow it up in Philly, first of all. You're keeping one of those two guys. They went through way too much tanking to lose both of those guys. That's number one. Number two, before you even thinking about making those two guys part ways with each other, you want to get somebody in there that's going to be able to get those guys playing the right way. I saw like some things that Brett Brown had been complaining to like assistant coaches about how Simmons wasn't taking more perimeter shots or even mid-range shots, and how Embiid wasn't in shape. And I had a problem with that when I was reading that. Brett Brown is the head coach of at the time was the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. It is your job to make sure that Ben Simmons is attempting to shoot these threes. And it's your job to make sure that he's getting better at doing that. It's your job to make sure that Joel Embiid's in shape. So that kind of tells me that these dudes didn't respect you as much as they should have. So, some people were saying, oh, he was scapegoated or whatever. He didn't fulfill his job requirements to the fullest. And at the end of the day, that's why they got swept, even though Simmons wasn't there. And it's also why he ended up losing his job.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of agree with everything you said. Like you said, I picked him to go 6, maybe. I thought Embiid would be able to get you maybe 1 or 2. He did have some monster games in there, but even like nowadays, they say it's kind of hard now to win with a big man as your best player. It's just kind of hard to get him the ball down the stretch, whether it's even if you do get it to him in the post, there's a lot of double teaming, especially in that series. When I watched down the stretch, there was a lot of double teaming Embiid in the post down the stretch. So he was like kind of throwing. I think in game 4, he had that pass across court that Marcus Smart stole that ended up tying the game up. So like just things like that. So without their point guards and things like that, it's kind of hard for them. Like you said, we expected Brett Brown to kind of be out of there. He had his opportunities. You think last year maybe it's not his fault with the way they went out, but even the year before that, they ended up losing to, I think they lost to Boston, and they lose to Boston again this year. I think a sweep. I think a lot of people kind of expected a little better of them. I think this just kind of made the sweep kind of made it easier and more understandable to get rid of him at this time. So and you think a lot of people are calling for them to blow the team up. I know Elton Brand came out today and said that he's not going to blow the team up. He's just going to get some better players around them. So that's one thing I did see on the Jump. So shout out to the Jump on ESPN that they showed their first year together. They were plus 15 on the court together, and then last year they were plus 7, and this year they were plus 0.6. So it's been going down, and then they kind of brought up the point about how the players are still there, and it's the same players, but it's kind of the pieces around them that have changed, and maybe that's the reason. So, like you say, you keep those two together. You bring in a new coach. You hope maybe a new coach can figure out some different things or bring a different scheme, or like you said, maybe it was a respect thing or just something like that. But you bring in a new coach and see how that goes before you kind of blow this thing up, because those are two very talented players. And at the end of the day, it'd be hard to decide, because I've been having a lot of debates with people which one do you get rid of? And it'd be hard to decide which one do you really get rid of if it had to come down to it. Because some people say you keep Simmons, some people say you keep Embiid, but it's kind of tough. You kind of want to keep both of them and figure it out.
Yeah, no, the number one option should be you have 2 all-world talents. You want to keep those guys together and try win a chance. The whole point of the process was collecting talent so that you could eventually put together a championship team. They had a lot of lottery picks. A bunch of them didn't work out, but you ended up getting 2 guys who most people, myself included, believe are all-world talent guys. Ben Simmons was the best defender in the NBA this year. Honestly, I don't even think that's arguable. And Embiid, it gets comparisons to Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, rightfully so. You have, they're not perfect fits, but we've seen teams where guys who played together weren't perfect fits and were still able to get it done. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, 2 Hall of Famers, great players. They won championships together. Those guys were not perfect fits. You even saw in the early parts of them coming together, they weren't even winning games. They didn't look that great together in the beginning of that, but they found a way to make it work. So now what Elton Brand and the 76ers brass, what their job is to get somebody in there that's going to be able to find a way to make this work. And from what I've heard, Ty Lue could have the inside track on getting that job, and it seems like the feeling is mutual there. Some people that I know would give Ty Lue flack, he wasn't really the reason why the Cavs were winning championships. Obviously, you have LeBron James. It's going to be a big reason why you're winning. But when you hear the stories about how Ty Lue was coaching those teams and, the things he was able to do with those teams, honestly, when we talk about respect and things like that, I could see why this would be a good job for him. Like 2016 NBA Finals, the story's been out there about like I think it was Game 7 that they're if they were either they're in halftime and he's going at LeBron saying you need to do more. Like stuff like that resonates with me is when I'm thinking of a hiring process and trying to bring somebody in there. So when I'm talking about trying to develop Ben Simmons' game as a jump shooter or Embiid with his with him being in shape, like that's just that's somebody I see who's going to go at these guys for sure. And like he not only he's a champion, he's a championship coach, but he's been around championship coaches. He's been around Phil Jackson. He's been around championship play. He's a champion as a player. You know what I mean? Like he's been around Kobe Bryant. He's been around Michael Jordan. He's been around Phil Jackson. Like he's been around some. He's with Doc Rivers right now. He's been around some great minds. So definite. He's from what it sounds like he's got the inside track to get a job, and I think rightfully so. I'd have no problem with him getting this job because of everything I just said.
Yeah, definitely. They need to get the right coach in there, like you said. And we've been saying it on here for forever now. They need to get the right coach in there to probably get those guys working together. The point you bring up about Braun and them is kind of interesting though, because if you think about it, they were the later on in their career. So like even with Paul Pierce and all of them, they kind of said if we came together maybe a little earlier when we were younger players, maybe it might not have worked out. Being a little older and stuff like that, especially with D Wade having the ring already, it was easy for him to kind of step back because he's already done all those type of things, which Simmons and Embiid and I'm still trying to prove. So it'd be interesting. You gotta get a good coach in there that can get a good balance between both of them. But not only that, to the point I was just making, it's going to depend on the role players. Maybe you want to get a couple more veterans in there who can kind of put that, what I was just saying in their head, like you got to sacrifice a little with each other, but you also got to surround them with some more shooting and stuff like that. So not only is the coach going to be very important, but the players that they surround around them is going to be very important. We've seen the last 3 years different kind of groups together. This year's group was a lot different from last year's group. They let JJ Redick go. They let Jimmy Butler go. So you've seen them play with different kind of players. So now you should know what kind of players need to be around them, and you need to get those players as well as get the coach right.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, getting the coach would be the first step. And if I'm them, like, you don't want to sacrifice your defense, but like they really gotta make it a point to go after shooters this off season. Like, whatever you got to do to bring certain guys in, make sure you do it. Um, and they'll be back where I think we expect them to be. Also, what I wanted to get into with them before we move on, uh, not that he played bad, but I've just been so disappointed in Tobias Harris. From what I've seen from him since he got paid in Philadelphia. Like, here's my thing, because we were doing the Instagram live, had some people on there talking, whatever. Tobias Harris did not play bad. Tobias Harris is getting paid a lot of money though. Even though we know they didn't choose Tobias over Jimmy Butler, it was more Jimmy Butler not wanting to be there. In a way, you like the perception is still that you were chosen over Jimmy Butler. You were paid a ton of money, not to play good, to play great, and I just haven't seen that from him. I'm aware that he got hurt, and I hope everything is all right with him. I know he had a laceration to his eye and everything. Getting up in the court when he had that scary fall. But I need to see the guy that I saw in LA. Regardless, I know he was the first option with the Clippers before he got traded. He was a third option in Philadelphia this past season, upgraded to second option when Ben Simmons was hurt. But I need to see the guy that's getting paid all this money to go out there and get those buckets that we know you're capable of doing. I just haven't seen that from him so far.
Yeah, like you said, first things first. Shout out to him. He got hurt and stuff for him to be able to come back in the game, and we hope everything is well. I think it's interesting. I think Philly has a lot to work out because it's like, what do you do without Horford? You brought him in there to kind of be the power forward, and you kind of had to move Tobias Harris to the three. All the all the things that you talked about with Tobias when he was playing well, he was kind of at the four as that stretch forward. Moving to the three is kind of different because now you're guarding maybe a little faster players and things like that. So, like I said, it's going to be how Philly puts the right players around. I think moving Simmons back to the 4 might be something to consider, and you might have to maybe get rid of Al Horford or start to bring him off the bench. I think that move to the 3 may have not have worked out for him throughout this year, and especially throughout the playoffs and stuff. So I think you try to get him back to the 4, and hopefully you start to see that player that we saw before.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we'll keep an eye on Philly and everything that they go on there. It's going to be an interesting summer for them. But to move on from there, he said it was going 7. I said it was going 6. We were both wrong. The Miami Heat swept the Indiana Pacers. Did it in nice style too. Kendrick Nunn was benched most of that game, comes out in that game 4, and does his thing there, finally showing some things that they'd like to see over there. Bam Adebayo, leading scorer. The Miami Heat are out here doing things. They're taking names. They're coming. They're coming for something. They believe that they can take the East. How do you feel?
I want to say, you know what, Miami, don't get on me. I'm sorry. I'm down here right now. I shouldn't have picked the go 7. I thought with Victor Oladipo being back, T.J. Warren was on a nice little streak there. I thought that they'll put up a little bit of fight there. It's I think Miami really showed a lot in this playoff series, be able to sweep them and things like that. I know people still think Oladipo's not 100%, but he got out there. They was able to slow down T.J. Warren a little bit and things like that. I think their defense really showed. I think they really showed that they have some very reliable shooters and things like that. And I think Jimmy Butler showed exactly why the Philadelphia missed him. Just his toughness and his shot making down the stretch. They were saying like he hasn't really made threes since February or something like that, or maybe even longer. Even longer. He comes out, hits 2 threes to end game 1 really to get them to win. So that's definitely like that toughness and shot making is definitely something that Philly missed. So I think the Heat, they're very good. I think I like what I've seen from them. It's gonna be interesting if the Bucks get out of this next series to see where they go from that. I know the Heat played them well during the regular season, so I don't know who I'm picking yet, but that series is gonna be real interesting. Shout out to the Heat.
Big shout out to the Heat, man. Let me not fast forward a little bit there. I think the other interesting thing, because I want to dissect this just a little bit more. The other interesting thing I saw from Miami during the series was one of the knocks on Miami was their ability to not be able to close games as much in the regular season, and as we got into this postseason, they didn't really have a problem doing that against Indiana. So that's one plus. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think with Jimmy Butler there, you kind of expect him to step up in big moments like that. So, like I said, those 2 big threes to end game 1. Dragic has been playing great, so shout out to Dragic too, having some big fourth quarters. So I think that's good. That's why I said it's gonna be interesting to see what happens next round.
Yeah, big time. And when I've said it from before the playoffs had even started. Miami has the perfect blend of young guys and veteran talent. They've shown some interesting lineups to close out. Like I know you had Iguodala, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo, or it was Jay Crowder. It was Bam Adebayo to close out games for you, and they're just getting it done, man. It's like they call Jimmy starting to get this moniker as playoff Jimmy, and I like what I see, and that's kind of why I'm going to take the Miami Heat, and I'm being completely gotta always say it, being completely objective when I say it. I am taking the Miami Heat to get past the Milwaukee Bucks next round, not simply just because of what we have just talked about, but also because I just haven't liked what I've seen from the Bucks throughout this bubble so far. They lost game 1, and now let's get into that Orlando series with Milwaukee. They lost game 1, got kind of embarrassed out there, started to come back, do their thing next game. They're up 3-1 on Orlando right now. No Aaron Gordon though, but they'll get past Orlando. I believe that they'll close out Orlando when they play them again. But when it comes time, just know.
I agree. You kind of haven't liked what you've seen from them in the bubble so far. I mean, Yeah, Orlando's a tough team. I didn't like what I seen from them in game one, but to be able to respond and go up 3-1, I think is very nice. I think Orlando came out last year and beat Toronto in game one of that series. So maybe Orlando's just a great game one team or something like that. Also, to get back on Jimmy Butler for a second, I think giving people these playoff nicknames haven't worked out too well. So, because with playoff
It's
P,
only one guy, bro.
no, playoff P nicknamed himself
He gave
playoff P.
himself that nick. Yeah, he gave himself that nickname. Jimmy
I'm
Butler didn't give himself playoff Jimmy.
We're gonna get into that series later, but the playoff whoever hasn't been working out for people. But besides the point, back to the Bucks. I haven't liked what I've seen from them, but I like what I've seen from the last three games. I think Middleton is still coming along, and he hasn't really played too well in this series. But hopefully by next round he plays a little better. I think, like I said, that Heat series is gonna be interesting. I think we all kind of expect them to still get past Orlando. Maybe Orlando makes it interesting and win another game, but I think these last two games, the Bucks are kind of showed who they were during the regular season, who they've been for the last 2 years. So I expect them to kind of close it out in the next game. I am. I didn't have a pick for this series yet. I
You don't
am
have to.
the
I'm just putting it out there. You don't have
no.
to. It's not
I,
really time to make those picks yet.
No, but I think if the Milwaukee wins tomorrow, then that series will probably start Saturday or Sunday. We'll be back next week, but I think it'll kind of be in the middle of the series by then. I am gonna to take a pick right now, and I'm gonna take the Bucks in 7. A couple minutes ago, I was thinking Heat, but I'm gonna take the Bucks in 7.
I've got Miami in 7. I am very confident in saying that Miami, they're going to go out there and play Miami Heat basketball, Heat culture. You're going to see some great things from the young guys. You're going to see some great things from the vets with championship experience, vets with playoff experience, young guys who are going to step up to the challenge. And Miami is going to get it done in 7. Since we're doing predictions, got Toronto in 7 as well. I believe you said 6 for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee. I think Middleton will get it together by next round. I think they're kind of this. I think getting punched in the face in that game one against the Magic kind of really woke them up because they was kind of being the number one seed. They had it locked up coming here, so I think they maybe lollygagged a little bit through the rest of the season.
But
I think getting punched in the face early, I think is good for them. What happened?
you talk about getting punched in the face by Orlando. Like if getting it was them getting punched in the face by Orlando. Like they what's a better word for them punched in the face? Because that's what's gonna happen in game one against Miami.
Yeah, well, you expect maybe they're woke now because before, like I said, maybe they came in lollygagging, being the number one seed. So you think maybe they're awake now. So I think that challenge is going to be there. They're going to be up, and I also think that Miami has gotten the best of them throughout the regular season. So maybe they look through the footage and the coaching stuff, kind of figure out what they did to them in the regular season, and kind of make adjustments for the playoffs to be able to come and uh and make the right adjustments to get the win. Like I said, I think it's gonna go 7, so I think it's gonna be close. Like I said, I was just gonna pick the Heat. So I think it could go either way, really, but I'm gonna stay with the Bucks. And as far as Toronto and Boston, yeah, I think I got the Boston in 6 or 7. I can see that going 7 too.
Pick a number, man. Pick a number.
If I had to pick a number, I feel like Boston has to get it done in 6. I feel like if it goes 7 or not. So I'm gonna go Boston in 6, but I can see it going 7. I got Boston either way. I'm going to go Boston in 6, and I'm going Boston because I think both teams are well-coached teams, solid teams, well-rounded teams. I just think when it comes down the stretch, it's going to come down to who has the better shot creators and things like that. I think with Kemba and Jason Tatum over there, I think Boston has better shot creators down the stretch to be able to get a bucket when the game's on the line, and that's why I'm going to pick Boston at 6.
All right. Well, number one, just to get back to Miami, Milwaukee, real quick. I think the other thing to note there is Mike Budenholzer is a very good coach, but Eric Spoelstra has not gotten his name put in the limelight, for years now in regards to just how good of a coach he is. I think people have kind of disrespected him a little bit because the championships that are on his resume, he won with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James on his teams. But we've seen how well of a coach he is when at one point in an NBA season, they've had one of the worst records in the league. Second half, they had the best record in the league. Didn't make the playoffs, but it tells you just, how he's able to motivate guys and get guys to kind of play up then. They had another great season after that. they come in and you see what he's been able to do with the young talent meshed in with the vets, and it just speaks volumes of just how good he is. And I think when you get to this series, you'll see the coaching duel between him and Budenholzer, and it's just going to, I feel like once again, it's just going to go to how good of a coach Eric Spoelstra is. When the job that you're gonna see these guys do on defense against Giannis and these guys, the things that he draws up is just gonna go hand in hand with what myself and some other people have been saying in regards to how good of a coach Eric Spoelstra is. Now to get to Toronto and Boston, yes, I agree with you. Both well-coached teams. Nick Nurse just won Coach of the Year. We can get into that later. We can get into that in this segment if you want, because I know you're not happy about it. But I think the Boston Celtics don't have championship experience, and I think when you have a team that has championship experience like the Toronto Raptors do, they're coming in to defend their crown. I think that's one of the ups for them already. Kyle Lowry has played well. Fred VanVleet's played well. OG Anunoby has been really showing his mettle in these playoffs, as well as Pascal Siakam. You still got Gasol over there. They're just a solid put together team. Shout out to Masai Ujiri, and well coached. And I think because of all of those elements combined with the fact that there probably won't be a Gordon Hayward to start this series, and maybe even anytime soon, by the way, because his injury was a little serious. He left on crutches in that first game against Philadelphia. But I think that'll go 7 because Boston's got a solid team, and you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker's back in there as well. You got some young guys that are playing well for them. But I mean, I just like what I've seen from Toronto the entire time that they've been in the bubble. I could see myself picking them to come out the East as well, just because of what I've seen from them and how well coached they are and everything. But for this series specifically, I just think that they're gonna show that they're the better team at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you said. I mean, to start off with the Eric Spoelstra thing, I think the last couple of years, like you said, he's shown that he's been a great coach. The first couple of years, you think you have all that talent. He's like, well, like you said, the same thing we were saying. When you have Braun, it's kind of like you have Braun. So it's kind of like people don't really give you that much credit. I think the last couple of years without Braun, what he was able to do with D. Waiters, that second half of the year that you were talking about, and just different things like that. I think he's shown that he's a great coach. I think that's why I think Miami is going to be a great destination spot with Jimmy Butler there. Everything they showed this year, the shooters that they show that they have for like other people to want to come there and play with Jimmy, and just the great organization that they got down there. So I think that's one thing. But that's why I said during the regular season, Milwaukee has seen how they played them. So I feel that Milwaukee's going to be able to make that adjustment the start that series. But I also think that Eric Spoelstra is going to be able to come back and make those adjustments. That's kind of why I feel like I see it going 7. But that's why I feel like the Bucks may have a chance, because they've lost them a couple of times during the season, and they're going to see what they was able to do to Giannis during those times and things like that, and probably where they can attack. And they're going to come out and be ready. But I think Eric Spoelstra will make the adjustments, and it's just kind of going to be back and forth. That's why I said I think it can go 7. As far as Toronto and Boston, like you said, I agree with most things you said. But I think a lot of things you said we can kind of say about Boston too. Well-coached team, well-put-together team, all those type of things. That's why I said it's kind of like a pick-me. But like I said, I just feel Tatum, Kemba Walker. I feel like when it's time to get a bucket down the stretch with the game on the line, they have shot creators. I feel like Toronto maybe has the better team and maybe the better offense, but I think, like I said, both teams are solid and well coached. So when it comes down to it, it's going to be like, who can get me a bucket? They say in the playoffs, your superstars kind of bring you home, even though they don't have like superstars, and Tatum's probably on his way there. I just feel like they're bucket getters who I would trust more down the stretch, where instead of like an offense where we can kind of see what's coming and mess up the offense.
And I agree completely with what you're saying. I think one of the other things that you need to watch out for in that series is the defense that's going to be played. But specifically from Toronto, the job that Nick Nurse is doing on the defensive side of the ball is something that's also just been great. Like you talked about the things that Miami's been able to do against Milwaukee. Like it's no secret that guys kind of want to play zone defense against Giannis. Like it's no shocker. Like that's how the Bucks lost to Toronto last season. So I think number one, that like Miami probably won't go too far from that. They're gonna try and it's crazy how we combine 2 segments right now, by the way. Um, Miami is not going to deviate from that game plan. Just kind of make somebody else beat them instead of Giannis, which is a great game plan, and then go from there. And then on the other side of things with Toronto and Boston, just yes, your stars, can win playoff series for you, but like the defense that Toronto is going to play, I think, is going to be a key factor for them as well, and that's kind of why I'm going towards them in that series too.
Yeah, I see what you say, but I expect Boston to play great defense too, with
Yeah,
Marcus
yeah,
Smart and things like that. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be really close. That's why I'm saying down the stretch, I just feel like they'll be able to get you a bucket. But it's great to see, like you said, we combined in two segments. The Eastern Conference first round kind of wasn't really that great from what we've seen. So the second round should be great. So I'm excited. I can't wait.
yeah. Same here, man. Same here. So let's get to the West, the Western Conference. I was wrong. I was wrong. I can admit what I was wrong. I said the Blazers were going to take this in 7. The Blazers are going to lose in 5. They came out, they did their thing. I was hyped. They won game 1, and really didn't do much after that. Damian Lillard's dealing with some injuries. He had a injury with his index finger. Now he's got a knee injury, so he's not even going to be suiting up for game 5. But last night, I didn't even want to finish watching the game just because of how dominant the Lakers were, so it wasn't even exciting to watch. They came out and did their thing as they should on Mamba Day. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant had the Kobe jerseys, the all black Kobe jerseys on. That's the best I've seen LeBron look in a while since since this whole thing. I didn't like the way that he's really looked in the bubble. That he looked amazing. The one criticism that we had about the Lakers was, them not consistently being able to knock down shots. They were able to do that last night. Kuzma was putting it down. Dion Waiters was making shots. Danny Green was making shots. You need those guys to really be on in order for you to win a championship. And, that honestly, last night was the first time I could sit and say that the Lakers finally look like the championship contenders that we all believe them to be.
Yeah, I think I picked the Lakers in 6. For me, it was kind of hard to pick against Bron, especially in the first round. To me, for the Lakers, I mean, they had us scared a little bit there in that first game. The kind of all the things that we had concerns about for them, they kind of showed there. Like you said, their guards was able to make shots. We worried about how they'd be able to guard on the perimeter with teams who have some dominant guards. Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum was able to get off in that first game. I know Damian hit a big shot down the stretch to win that one. But I think after that, they kind of really ramped up their defense. I think they changed the way they were playing defense on Dame. I think they kind of started blitzing him off the pick and roll instead of giving him that space. I think AD was backing off of him a little bit, so he was able to come down and kind of get those half-court shots up. I think AD is pushing up a little bit on the pick and roll, kind of forced him to give it up a little more. Now you get those easy half-court shots that he kind of or those deep shots that he likes to get. So I think they adjusted well. Their shooters, like you said, started to make some shots. Shout out to Caldwell Pope, who had 1 point in the first game, and after that has kind of been going off. So I think, to me, for the Lakers, it really comes down to how well AD played. I think AD has played well these last 3 games, and that's kind of why they were able to get the wins. I think we kind of know we're going to get from Bron, and like you said, the shooters have to be on too, but AD's kind of the person who can kind of offset that. I think a lot of people think he's a top 5 talent in this league right now, and we haven't really seen what he can do in the playoffs. He's been there a couple of times, but I think they swept the Trailblazers, but they lost to the Warriors both times. So we haven't really seen him kind of deep in the playoffs, and all those series he was kind of the underdogs in. So to see him as the number 1 seed, and we just kind of, and with the pressure on him this time, to see how he can kind of respond. He relieves a lot of pressure off Bron and the rest of the team, because I think even watching this series, the Blazers kind of don't have nobody who can stop AD. So, he's able to get the ball, step backs, all type of things like that. So I think he just creates a big mismatch where it opens up a lot for their shooters, for LeBron to relax a little bit and things like that. So I think for the Lakers, it comes down to how well AD plays. And if he plays well and keeps up what we've seen the last 3 games, I think my pick for them to win the championship is looking good.
All right. I feel it. His health, it's also going to come down to his health, by the way. He went out last game with back spasms, so he's got to be the best ability is availability. He's got to be out there for them. They need him. And the back is nothing to play with. But I mean, in these circumstances, if they really need him to go, I'm sure he'll be out there. But it's just something to monitor. But I agree with everything that you're saying. But they've got what we saw from them last night is what they got to keep up. Side note, not too much of a side note, but shed a little bit of a tear. think it was game 2 or game 3. The duel that we got to really see when LeBron and Melo really took us back over the years, man. That was great. Just as a basketball fan, it was like these dudes are going at it in 2020. Like this is amazing. So shout out to those guys.
Definitely shout out to them. I think that was kind of great for people like around our age who kind of we watched them grow up in this league. We watched them play all these years. I remember Melo hitting that game winner in Cleveland when he was on Denver, and then Bron coming back and slipping. I think that was almost like 10 years ago now. So we kind of watched them grow up in this league and watched all the things that they've done. So to see them in 2020 still get out there, I think that was more appreciated for like our group and maybe a little older groups. These young kids probably don't know too much about that. They're
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the Steph range and things like that. So shout out to them for being able to keep it up and holding on to our childhood for a little bit longer.
Yeah, man, 100%, 100%. So Houston and Oklahoma City are tied 2-2. Had Kayson a little scared there. Houston goes up 2-0. Game 3, critical. Some missed calls over by the referees kind of help Oklahoma City out there. Look at him rolling his eyes.
What missed call are we talking about? If you think
I don't
about the
want to
Rockets,
talk about it, man.
the Rockets kind of just blew. They gave up that wide open three from Shea Gilgeous in the corner. They don't give that up. They end up winning the game. Honestly, they turned the ball over before that. They turned it over and then gave the three up to Shea Gilgeous.
They also blew the last game. They really gave that game away to Oklahoma City. So I mean they're in their hole now. But I'm just gonna sit here and say you picked Oklahoma City number one because you're biased, but also but also because you feel like the Rockets aren't a consistent team. I don't think we can sit here and put that on them right now when they don't have Russell Westbrook in there. Like this would be a little bit of a different like number one, Oklahoma City was having serious issues with what the Rockets were doing in those first 2 games, and that's why they lost. But number 2, it would just be a completely different series with Russell Westbrook in there.
I think the Rockets are in trouble. And here's why I think we can say that. Because like you said, last game, they kind of blew it. And they blew it because they're too up and down, especially with their three-point shooting. They go, 8? I think they went like 8 for 25 in the second. They come out and hit their first 8 threes in the half. And then the rest of the half, they go like 8 for 25 and end up blowing like a 15-point lead. That is the Rockets. They're too up and down. They shoot too many threes. They're too worried about the threes. And like, they say, you live by the 3, you die by the 3. And that game, they died by the 3. And you just don't know when they're going to live or die by the 3. I mean, I will say that the Rockets have looked like the better team for the most part of the series. But I think that's why they're in trouble because now I think the Thunder's guards wasn't playing well the first couple of games. They were able to sneak out of game 3, like you said. And they was kind of able to sneak out of game 4. I know Schroeder had a big game in game 4, but their guards, CP had a big game down the stretch of game 4, but their guards really haven't played to what we've seen from them in the regular season. So I feel like now winning those 2 games, Schroeder kind of got on the roll, CP kind of got on the roll. I think the Rockets might be in trouble for the fact that the Thunder might have a little bit of confidence. I think the Rockets came out those first 2 games, kind of hit the Thunder in the face, and then like they hit them in the face, and they kind of wasn't ready for it. And like you said, the times that the Thunder played the Rockets in the regular season this year, they didn't do the small ball thing yet. So I think that small ball thing kind of came out, hit them in the face. They're maybe down a little bit, losing their confidence, but I think sneaking out of game 3 with a win in now game 4, I think the Thunder's confidence are kind of up. And then Billy Donovan, which I was calling for him to make this adjustment, he has to go small. He was at the beginning of game 1 and 2, he was taking Dort out to play Schroeder and play his 3-guard set. But when you take Dort out, you're taking off maybe the person who's played the best defense on Harden we've seen in the last couple of years. And then in that end of game 2, they take him out, and then Harden goes off. I think he scores like 7 straight, and they end up winning the game. So he made the adjustment to keep Dort in, take Steven Adams out, and kind of go small. And I think that kind of hurt the Rockets the last 2 games. So if he keeps that up, the Rockets kind of have to adjust from that. I expect to see Russ maybe next game, and that's going to be a whole other problem.
They said he wasn't going to play. I'm not too sure, but I think they said he wasn't going to play this next upcoming game.
But I think the Rockets are in trouble. I think Oklahoma City's failed themselves. They kind of got their swagger back after being punched in the face early. So I think that's something to see the next couple of games.
I can agree with that last point. I think they definitely should feel that way. This series has also gotten a little chippy from the standpoint of Harden and Chris Paul. Like clearly we know we heard the rumblings last season when they were together, and then like this season, with the trades going down and everything. But like we know now for sure those two do not like each other. Like specifically in the last game, like you said the one, um, you know, portion of the game, like they're walking back and Chris Paul's kind of like mouthing off to the ref about Harden, like just kind of going at Harden a little bit. So this is kind of like a pride thing for those two as well. It's gonna look bad on the Rockets' part if they can't get past Oklahoma City after trading away Chris Paul. But I mean, I could honestly, I said I thought it was gonna go 6, even regardless of like who I thought was gonna win it. This might go 7. Like I said after they were up 2, I probably wouldn't play Russ. I want to see how this next game goes. If the Rockets lose, clearly you got to play Russ. But I probably would wait. Like I don't think I'd play Russell West if they can go up 3-2. I don't think I'd play Russell Westbrook this series.
That's interesting for what the Rockets would do. I think you kind of, if he could go, I think you kind of have to play him in Game 5. Kind of like I just said, I think the Thunder got their mojo back, and they kind of maybe figured out some things that can maybe stop the Rockets. I think Russ, like you said, brings a whole nother dynamic that the Thunder have to worry about and kind of readjust their whole plans. If he can go, I think he might have to go, because you can roll the dice and you can say like I said, the Rockets have been the better team in the series throughout most of the series, but if you end up losing that game, then you kind of put Russ in a very, very tough position to come back in the elimination Game 6 and kind of have to get his rhythm back and kind of make sure they win the game. I kind of thought his rhythm wasn't there from, the break in the season, and then he ends up getting COVID right before he comes down, so he got to the bubble late. The games, the seeding games, he's kind of trying to get his footing back under him and things like this, and then his injury happens. So to throw him right back out there in the elimination game would kind of be tough. So I think if you want to get him back there, if he can go in Game 5, that'd be good for him to be able to get his game rhythm in Game 5 and maybe Game 6. And if it goes 7, but you figured if you want him out there and not like an elimination situation, I think if you win Game 5, I think you still might try to get him out there for Game 6, because, like I said, he has to kind of get his rhythm and get back out there. And that Lakers series with the Rockets series going 6, if they end up winning, that Lakers series will probably start a couple of days after that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you want him to have his rhythm by the time the Lakers series starts. Maybe you can kind of steal a Game 1 or a Game 2. But I don't know. I think they kind of need him now. I think if he can go out there and play, obviously you don't want him to go out there not 100% and end up hurting himself some more. But if he can play, I think he really kind of brings a different dynamic to the series that they might need right now, because the Thunder, they might got their confidence back.
Yeah, no, I feel what you say. You actually kind of changed my mind a little bit once you made that Lakers point. Um, but like the thing is, you just want to, with the quad injury is a tricky injury to deal with, especially like with somebody who plays the way that he plays. So it's all about his health, and that's what I'm thinking about when I say sit him. I think most people that would say sit him, that's the first thing that they're thinking about. He definitely brings that dynamic in, but like you said, the Rockets have kind of shown that they've been the better team for most of this series, even with it being 2-2. So if you're in command, if you're able to take command of this with here's what I want to see, and I would say don't play him. If they go up 3-2 and it's a dominating win for them to go up 3-2, then yeah, don't play him. But in the case of they go 3-2 and it was close, now I'm thinking about it a little more from the standpoint of what you're saying about rhythm, and it could go 7. And one thing that we have both noted about the Rockets and small ball is, while we believe it works, the thing that everybody has said about small ball is them taking all this damage, getting beat up and everything, having to go against these big guys and having these mismatches and them not having their legs under them after the fact. You don't want this series to have to drag out and then go against go up against the Lakers right after that, while the Lakers have gotten a little bit of a rest because they finished their series in 5 while you just went 7 with Oklahoma City.
Yeah, like you said, I think they've shown that they were the more dominant team through most of these games in the series. But like I said, the Thunder could have their swagger back winning these last 2. So you're kind of rolling the dice to go out there and, like, you think you can probably keep it up, but what if the Thunder figured something out maybe these last couple of games? I know down the stretch of Game 4, they've been starting to put Harden in the pick and roll and kind of attacking him because he does so much on the offensive end, especially without Russ there right now. So you kind of be rolling the dice, because, like I said, if you go down 3-2, because you're looking at it as if they only win. There's a chance that they could possibly lose the game. So it's like if they go down 3-2, it'd be tough, like I said, to put Russ out there in an elimination game 6. I mean, for Russ fans and for Russ, that'd be like the perfect scenario. You come back against your old team, you go lead your new team to victory after being out. If he's 100, if he's like I said, if he could play, and it's probably gonna have to you're probably gonna have to tell him not to play if he can't, because Russ is probably gonna want to be out there after, especially after we saw him arguing with Steven Adams. It's hurt me a little bit, but I think
One,
he's gonna
two.
seeing what happened the last 2 games. I think he's definitely probably gonna want to be out there, and it's a pivotal game 5, and the way it's been looking, it could really go either way. And like I said, with the Rockets, they're kind of too up and down. They went like I said, it was like 8 for 25 in that second half. So if they don't shoot well from 3 next game, it's a possibility they can lose and they could be down. Like I said, I've been saying this about the Rockets for a while now. You never know which Rockets team you're going to get, and they need to get the best Rockets team in Game 5 because they really can't go down 3-2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point by you. It's something that I think we'd all agree with as well. It's we just have to wait and see what happens. But I don't think, as far as I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that he's not expected to play Game 5. But we'll see what happens. I was kind of it was crazy to see, like, he has been real adamant on these sidelines, by the way. Like, those first 2 games, like, he was letting his voice be heard. He was getting hyped, getting in his guys' faces, kind of looking like Coach Russ out there. And then, like, to see him go with Steven Adams, I was just like, whoa, what's going on here, man? I know you don't. But also, it's not too shocking because one thing that Russ has always noted is he has no friends on the court. It's the ball and his teammates. And if you're not on his team, he's not rocking with you. So he doesn't play for Oklahoma City no more. So maybe off the court, it's a different story. But, even with him not playing, Steve Adams still ain't his teammate. So, hey.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think he kind of needs to do that on the sideline. I think he kind of brings the energy for them. He's kind of that energizer bunny for them. And without him out there, especially with no home crowd, it's kind of like who's going to be able to kind of get the team going. James Harden's kind of like he's an assassin, but he doesn't get too rattled, too up, too down. He kind of stays kind of mellow and kind of just does what he does. So they kind of need someone with no fans and stuff out there to kind of be out there and get everyone energized, especially with the role players and things like that. But that's why I say he brings a whole different dynamic that's going to make Oklahoma City have to switch everything they kind of been preparing for. So I think him playing in Game 5, if he can go, because like I said, you don't want him to get hurt. I think him playing in Game 5 can maybe turn the series around.
Yeah, 100%, man. So that's something that we'll be monitoring tomorrow and see how that one goes. The other series that we got to get to is the Utah Jazz versus the Denver Nuggets. I had the Jazz losing in, I think I said 5, and you had a sweep. The Utah Jazz are 3-1 right now. They're actually playing right now. It's 51-43 Utah in the first half. 4.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Very disappointing look for Denver, even with them not having their full team out there. We both didn't feel like Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell weren't on the best of terms because of how everything went once the coronavirus outbreak really started to make its way here and affected the NBA. They've seemed to put away their differences. They look pretty good out there. Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. This is a little shocking. Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray have both been battling out 50 pieces every other night. Like, they're doing their thing, but like you noted when we were on Instagram Live, we need to see somebody else for Denver step up. And, Jokic hasn't really been able to do his thing against Rudy Gobert. So,
yeah, I think I picked a sweep, but I thought that them trying to avoid Houston would kind of maybe come back in their face because Denver was a great team too. I think Denver is missing some players, but I think at this point, I think they're kind of getting out coached a little bit. I think the Jazz have figured out that Joker is kind of too slow for them to switch a pick and roll, and he's kind of sagging too far off the screen when Donovan's coming down. So that leaves Donovan open for a pull-up mid-range. If not, he's just throwing it over the top because Gobert is so tall and so long that they can just throw it over him. and the Joker kind of can't get back. I think also if they switch it, then the Joker's kind of just too slow to guard a guard like Donovan Mitchell. So I think the last 3 games they've been kind of attacking that. It's just been pick and roll, whether it's Mike Conley or it's Donovan Mitchell or things like that. I think the only saving grace that Denver has is that Jamal Murray been able to go off for like almost 40 in game 1 to get them that win in overtime. He kind of had some I wouldn't say subpar, but he kind of had some normal games in game 2 and 3, and they kind of got blown off the court. So Jamal Murray kind of has to play like out of his mind, going for almost 50 pieces a night for them to have a chance for him to will them into the game. And I think that it's just been too much. I think on a defensive end, they don't have no one that can really guard Donovan Mitchell with the pick and roll issues. And then even they've been Michael Porter. They've been switching. If they switch like someone like Michael Porter, he's just been attacking them. So I think they have a problem with no one guarding, being able to guard Donovan Mitchell. They're having a problem guarding the pick and roll. And we've seen Mike Malone not wanting to take Joker out for all the things that he does for them offensively. But for everything that he's doing for them offensively, he's kind of hurting them a lot on defense. And even I've seen Joker take a lot more shots outside of the paint than we usually see from him, and that's just because Gobert has been kind of a big problem for him. So I think it's kind of over for the Nuggets. They're down now by 8. I think it's kind of over for them. They probably end up losing this in 5. But the Jazz, like you said, we didn't think they were on the same page, but they smartened up. They didn't want to lose to Houston again. They kind of got the matchup they wanted. They were able to figure some things out. So I guess shout out to the Jazz and what they got going on. And it's kind of unfortunate that happened to the Nuggets with a couple players that they were missing. But I think the way the series is going, I think the outcome probably would have been the same, even with Gary Harris out there and Will Barton and the people that they were missing.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this because I really don't have much to add to this. Like, I agree with everything that you was just saying there, but how much should we get on the Denver Nuggets for losing this series? Like, because I believe they're gonna lose. I was saying in the Instagram live, I think that they could probably win tonight and then get closed out in 6. But the fact that you're down 3-1, knowing how good they've been the last 2 years, they're a young team that's looking to make those jumps to that next level to really become a contender. Like, how disappointed should it be for the Nuggets to go out in the first round against a team like Utah?
For me, I don't think it should be too disappointing. You probably chop it up to the couple players you're missing. Will Barton's the offensive player who you're missing. Gary Harris, the offensive player who also plays defense that you're missing. I think also you may just chop it up to where it was just a bad matchup for you guys. I think, like I said, with all the problems that they have with Joker in the pick and roll and how they kind of can't take him out because he's a large part of their offense. So I think you chop it up to maybe a bad matchup for you. If you blame anyone, to me, it may be coaching. I was saying maybe you take Joker out and try to see how things go defensively without them just being able to run a pick and roll and get things off of that. So, but you kind of can't blame Mike Malone too much because, like you said, Joker's a big part of their offense. I would have went small and just maybe tried it out because you can't get. I feel like you can't get beat the same way 4 games in a row, without you having to try something. Like, I understand he's one of your best players, but it kind of got to the point where he's just a little unplayable. So I think you chop it up to maybe a bad matchup, and then to me, you chop it up to maybe a couple players that you lost. To me, what are they really gonna do? You probably won't blow it up. You maybe
No, you
try
won't
to
blow it up. But I mean,
right.
look at what you said. Like, then it has to come down to coaching. You never made the adjustments to really win games. Like, yes, some of the games you lost were close, but you still didn't make the adjustments knowing what your Achilles heel was in this. Obviously, you know, he's a big part of what you do, but he's also kind of been, a fault for you in not being able to have the total success that you want against Utah. So if it's got to be chalked up to him if they can't get this done. You never made the adjustments. You were the first one calling it out.
Yeah, that's what I would say. But then at the same time, he can look at them and say, "What do you want me to do? Like, do you want me
You
to
gotta
take
try something. You gotta try something.
Yeah, like I said, I would have tried taking Joker off the court and see how it goes. Maybe get Miles Plumlee in there, someone who's more athletic where they can't just throw it over the top, or maybe someone where they can kind of switch the pick and roll and do something like that. But To me, he's probably gonna look at them like Joker's our best player or maybe our second best player. I kind of can't take him off the court. It was just a bad matchup. But I think, like you said, you have to try something, even if it ends up because really, Jamal Murray's the one who's willing them through games. So like I think they might have been all right without the Joker out there. So to me, only thing you can do is maybe a coaching change. But that's probably
No,
about it.
but it's too early to say that. Like, I just, he's got to take the blame though. Like, it's clear. Like, he didn't make any adjustments. He did not. He kept attacking it the same exact way, and it's exactly why they're down 3-1 right now.
Yeah. So I don't like I said, who you can blame them and you can fault them and you can get on them, but who does the blame really go to? And for the Nuggets wise and the organization wise, it's like, what is the next move, especially if it's not a coaching change?
I think you just fine tune things in the draft. Like they've been able to just draft so well and bring in the right guy. They've also gotten a little lucky with being able to get Bol and Michael Porter Jr. in there. So I think you got young guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Bol where you can say we want to develop these guys to get them to that next phase of their careers. This is Michael Porter Jr.'s second league in the year, but he is a rookie because he didn't play that first year. Bol is a rookie who missed some time with an injury himself. So just finding ways to incorporate those guys into your offense would be, or incorporate them more into your offense would be a big step right there. And just also fine tuning your rotation, getting some pieces that'll help you get over the hump.
Yeah, but even I guess with Bobo and them, it still comes down to, and say next year they match up with another team like this. Say they match up with the Jazz again next year. It still comes down to, do you take Joker off the court or do you not? Joker's going to be the same person next year. So I mean, maybe
He's going to be the same person next year, but it's because Bol hasn't even played in the series. So imagine he can step up because he did some nice things in those scrimmage games before things started that made people say wow. So now imagine you can get him to be like a nice piece in your rotation to go along with that. That's just a step up. Even with Jokic being the same guy, it's just a step up from what you have already. So like he's the same guy, but you have a 7-footer who who has a consistent perimeter shot, can play defense. That's something that can help you out.
Yeah, I see your point. They're just gonna have to, like you said, develop the young guys, and maybe they'll come more of an offensive threat, so that the offense is not so reliant on Jamal Murray and Jokic, where maybe they can cut his minutes down a little bit. You don't take him all the way off the court, but maybe you cut him down a little bit. So you're not relying on just him so much offensively. You get some other pieces out there where the offense is more versatile. So if you do have to take the loss of taking them out for a couple minutes or for a large portion of the game, it doesn't hurt you guys too much.
Yeah, so we'll see this game. This game is still going on right now. We got Jamal Murray at the line. First half is about to close with Utah up 63-52. So we'll keep a monitor on that one. But I want to get into the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. This has been a good series. I had the Clippers winning in 6. It can still happen. The series is tied 2-2 right now. The Clippers playing the Dallas Mavericks tonight. Number one, Luka Doncic is that dude. He's the man. Everything that everybody said he was going to be coming into the draft, and him winning Rookie of the Year and everything. It's all been true. The Dallas Mavericks are down 22 points with no Kristaps Porzingis, and Luka Doncic wills them into overtime and then wins the game on a buzzer beater. This dude is going to go. He's going to be a legend in this game. He's the real deal. I still think the Clippers will win in 6. No Kristaps Porzingis tonight. But the Dallas Mavericks are a team that people are going to have to watch out for the foreseeable future. And this kid could be the face of the league with just how talented he is. So that's one. 2, while the Clippers have been able to play well, playoff P, not so much. My man's gave himself a nickname his first year in Oklahoma City and has never lived up to it. And it's crazy because we were talking when this whole thing first started. Like, one thing I was kind of joking about was, man, Oklahoma City fans probably wish they had this Paul George in the playoffs. This is early, like game 1, and he is kind of just disappeared ever since. Can't find his shot, gets lost out there. He seems like the critics are getting to his head a little bit with some of the remarks that he has in his post game interviews. But he's got to do something. I saw him icing his shoulder, so I'm wondering if he might have gotten hurt again, because I know that was his issue last season. But for them to be able to win a championship, he's got to be on. Kawhi's still playing how Kawhi plays in the postseason. He's doing his thing. Lou Williams is doing his thing. Montrezl Harrell is doing his thing. The guys that you expected to be able to ball when you need him to, a ball. And Paul George has got to go out there, and he's got a ball. He's got to live up to the name that he gave himself.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, Luka's gonna be a real deal in this league, and I think I have to say that I was wrong. I thought that the Clippers end up getting in 5. I thought Luka and Porzingis would be able to get them 1, but I thought the Lakers guards would be more playoff proven and stuff like that. With this being Luka's first playoff series, I thought the Clippers guards would be on him a little more and make it kind of tough for him in playing his first kind of playoff basketball. I think Luka has showed us that he's been playing professional for years, even before he was in the NBA. So I think he's shown us that he's the real deal. He can kind of, even on a bad ankle, because he hurt his ankle in Game 3. So I think even on a bad ankle, he showed us that he's ready to be a superstar. He's ready to be that guy in this league. So I think, like you said, in the foreseeable future, that the Mavs have something there, and they're definitely going to be a championship contender in the years to come. As far as playoff P, it's been really, really bad. I think I've seen that he's the only player to shoot like 29% in 3 straight playoff games or something like that. I think, like you said, I think the critics kind of get to his head a little bit. I think it's weird to see, because before he hurt his leg, he played well in the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't like great, but he played well enough for it to get he was the Indiana's best player when they played the Heat in a couple series, and he played well in those series. He played well in the Knicks series, the knock the Knicks out in the second round and things like that. So it's weird to see, because like I was after his ankle, because even in his first round loss to Toronto before he got traded to OKC, I think that was 4 years later. Yeah, before he got traded to OKC, his first round loss to Toronto, he played well. That series went 7 and they almost won. So it's just like, I guess he got to the West. The West is a different beast. I think the West has been better than the East for years now. So getting to the West has kind of hurt him a lot. I think in those 2 OKC series, he hasn't played well. Like you said, last year we kind of chop it up to maybe both of his shoulders being hurt. But even in that big Game 6, after Russ had that big Game 5 to kind of get him into Game 6, he was a no-show. He was like 2 for 16. He kind of just stopped shooting the ball. And in these series, it's kind of like the same thing. I guess like the bigger he kind of gets in the Western Conference and the more pressure that's on him, he kind of shrinks a little bit. So I expect him to come out here in Game 5 tonight, because Game 5 is tonight. I expect him to come out here and have a big game. I expect him to respond. I think he did have that post on social media where he said, "Why are people talking about me? You shouldn't be talking about me." So I think that just shows us that the critics are definitely getting to him, and he definitely hears the critics, things like that. But I thought that those years with Russ kind of changed him a little bit. I know he never hit a game. Did he never hit a game winner? He was like over something in game winners. Then he gets to OKC last year. Start hitting a whole bunch of game winners. I thought Russ's personality kind of started turning on him a little bit about not caring what people say and things. But Kawhi said at the end of Game 3 that they got Paul George's back, but you expect him to step up. I think if Paul George is playing well, I think the series goes 5, like I said. But I expect the Clippers to get the next 2 and get out of here. But we need to see something from PG, because playoff P has been a no-show.
But you can't give yourself a nick. He has not gone anywhere in the playoffs since the early years in Indiana. Like it was funny when Barkley said it, but it's true. Like when he said, "They don't call me championship Chuck." Like you can't call yourself playoff P and not only have you not gotten out of the first round in years, even in the Eastern Conference when you were in Indiana, it had been a while since you had come out the first round. But you're not really doing anything in these playoffs. Like it's always something. At some point, the excuses got to go, and you've got to step up. And I think for like the Clippers to win a championship, he doesn't even have to play out of his mind. Like you said, he's just got to play good. So I would hope so that tonight is the night that he really shows out. But definitely can't let the critics get to you the way that it seems like he's getting to you, because that's just going to mess up you. It seems like they're getting in his head, right? he goes out there tonight and misses his first shot. All right, now it's already in the back of his mind that people are going to start talking about him again. So yeah, he's got to make something happen. I mean, they have the team to do it, but like I picked the Clippers to win this game in 6 because I knew Dallas was going to be a pushover. I knew how good Luka Doncic was combined with Kristaps Porzingis and the depth that they put together on that team. But like they need for them, like even in a way for them to kind of get over Dallas, they're going to need him to do some things for them in the first round.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to get past Dallas without him in the first round. But I think he has to do something, even if like your offense is not going. I think he has to kind of step up and take the challenge to guard Luka Doncic. I think for Kawhi, because Kawhi guarded Luka at the end of like the last 2 minutes of that game 4, and that really made a difference. So I think and Luka was even. I think from the moment Kawhi got on him to the overtime when he hit that game winner, it was kind of Kawhi was making it real tough for him. So it's kind of tough for Kawhi to have to go out there and guard the other team's best player and be like the only offense, well, not the only offense, but be like the best offensive player for y'all too. I think if Paul George, you're supposed to be a two-way player just like Kawhi is. I mean, we don't think his defense is as great as Kawhi, but we think he's a two-way player like Kawhi is. That's why we thought them two coming together would be kind of dominant. I think if your shot is not going in this series, because even if you guys got this series, you have other series to kind of step up. Because I think if he doesn't play well this series, but in the next series he goes off, I think people kind of got short-term memory. I think you'll remember, but we kind of be over if he steps up in the next series. So I think he has to take the challenge somehow. He can't just not be out there playing well offensively and still not taking the challenge defensively. I think if your offense is not going, go out there and try to guard Luka, take some pressure off Kawhi and things like that. And also just go out being aggressive. I think he needs to take a page out of Russ's book. He played with Russ for the last 2 years. He talked about how much Russ was impact on him. Don't care. Go out there and be you. Just be aggressive. Even if you're missing shots, if you're being aggressive, I think just drawing attention and things like that would definitely help the Clippers offense. I know I seen someone say that maybe he's kind of been hurt a little bit, having to play point guard a little bit with them starting Landry Shamet and then him kind of have to run the offense a little bit. But I feel like that's no excuse. You have to go out there and it's like I said, be aggressive, either offensively, defensively. If you're missing shots, people miss shots. But I think he gets to the point sometimes where it's like he just stops shooting. And then I guess maybe he feels like him shooting is hurting the team a little bit. But still, I think you got to, like I said, go out like Russ a little bit and just go out guns blazing. Even if you being aggressive is drawing attention and things like that, you're going to get fouled. You're going to get something. So I think just being aggressive can help.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I said, that's something that we're gonna have to see him make happen. And if he's aggressive, I won't kill him as much because at least you were taking the initiative to get something done. But it's got to get done, and we do have short-term memory. That's the whole point. So you go out and ball, we'll stop talking about you the way that you don't like us talking about you. But
And I think,
go ahead.
like I said, I think he can get out of this series not shooting well. I think if he ends up not shooting well, if he takes the challenge defensively, and then even next series he comes out, it looks like they end up playing Utah in the next series. He's not he has more chances to make it up. I think if he comes out, like I said, and has a great series next series, don't worry about it. I think Kawhi will be able to get them. Kawhi, Lou Williams, Doc Rivers be able to get them through this series. But he has to step up eventually down the road because I think if he keeps looking at how he looks and like every round the pressure just builds up and builds up, my Lakers pick is keep looking better and better every day, better and better because they're not beating the Lakers unless he steps up.
I agree, but you of course you just had to bring that up anyway. So those are the recaps for this week. Nick Nurse won Coach of the Year, like we mentioned. We both thought Billy Donovan should have won it, but I'm really not mad that Nick Nurse won it. I thought Nick Nurse's name should have been in this. I said his name would be in once the league awards were announced, and he's done a good job in Toronto. You talk people like you got to admit this. When Kawhi left, you didn't think that they were going to be that good. I thought they were going to be good, but not this good either. And he's done a good job with what he has, so I can't be mad that he won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, but the only thing with me is that I think the coach of the year, low-key, a lot of time comes down to someone that kind of surprised you. Like I said, Billy Donovan wasn't expecting to make the playoffs. We expected the Raptors to make the playoffs. We didn't expect them to be this good, but we still expected them to be a solid team without Kawhi. So I think him getting it, I'm not too upset with it, but I think that someone that does a job like Billy Donovan done, they had like a 0.2 chance to make the playoffs, and they end up getting the 4th seed. I think something like that should kind of be rewarded. I think Nick Nurse did a great job and things like that. But like you said, we expected them to make the playoffs. We kind of expected them to be a good team, even if we didn't expect them to be the 2 seed. I think a lot of people expect them to be a top 4 team in the East. So it's kind of like they overachieved, but not as much as the Thunder overachieved.
Yeah, I can hear what you're saying. It's just kind of it is what it is. I didn't think like when Budenholzer won it last year, it was just like, nah, man. I really thought that Doc Rivers should have won it, but like this year, he didn't win it. I don't think it's kind of the exact same situation. So it's not one of those things. It's just like, hey, you know, whatever. It just got announced tonight that Giannis had won Defensive Player of the Year. I think me and you both said Anthony Davis should have won it. So not like, wow, he got robbed. I don't think that at all. But like, I mean, I still think Anthony Davis should have won it. But Giannis has had a really good year defensively, so it's not outrageous that he got that award.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think AD should have got it. I forgot about that. I think that kind of surprised me a little bit now. Like I said, AD was the best defender on the number one defense in the league. I think AD definitely should have got it. Like you said, Giannis is still like a viable another option. So it's not too surprising that he got it. I think to me it's just now it raises the eyebrows. When's the last time someone won both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in 1 year?
Yeah, no, he's a phenom. He's a phenom. We're gonna want to watch and see what he does in these playoffs, and he's gonna be a free agent in a year. So keep an eye out on that. Um,
Yeah, it's gonna be a big playoff run for him
you
this year. I
catch
think.
that. You ain't even catch that.
Nah, I seen you showing your Heat jersey. I think he has a big chance to come to Miami. I think Golden State. Watch out for Golden State. You've seen Steph recruiting him, talking about let's do it. They have the number one pick. I mean, number two pick now. If I'm Golden
Yeah.
State, I kind of thought that I'm kind of like you see how this playoff run goes for them, and I'm calling Milwaukee this I don't even say summer now this winter, and I'm like, hey, I got the second pick. You can get another 7 footer. You can shoot a little bit and do a lot of the same things. Not he's probably not as guard oriented as Giannis is, but he could do a lot of things. You could maybe find a valuable replacement. So if I'm going to state, I'm throwing that pick in their face
Hey,
this winter and see if they go for it.
definitely got to watch out for that happen. So that's the other one before we get out of here. The NBA lottery went down. Minnesota Timberwolves have the number one pick. The Golden State Warriors with the second pick. Third pick goes to the Charlotte Hornets. Fourth pick to
The Bulls.
the Chicago Bulls. Let's talk about it, man.
Let's talk about what everyone's been talking about.
Don't have to.
The Knicks,
Don't do this.
the Knicks dropped to the number 8 pick. They dropped 2 slots. De'Aaron Fox was on Twitter getting on them a little bit. I mean, he can't talk too much because the Kings haven't been great either. But the Knicks dropped two spots, which is very unfortunate for them. They got the 8th pick. I mean, they still can maybe get someone like Cole Anthony or maybe a solid talent still down there. They probably need a point guard in there. I think Dennis Smith Jr. kind of hasn't worked out for them too much. I think Minnesota
that have worked out for them. They're going to keep none of the point guards they brought in there worked out for them. They drafted Frank Ntilikina to be their point guard, even though they like I know that Leon Rose likes what he sees from him, as far as being that point guard for them. I don't think anybody there believes in him to that extent. But, they brought in Dennis Smith Jr. They traded for Emmanuel Mudiay. They brought in Trey Burke. They've brought in a bunch of different guys to try and take over that point guard position for them, and nothing's really worked out. So I think clearly they're going to go after a point guard in this draft. It'd be kind of cool to Cole Anthony was, the top point guard coming out of high school. New York hasn't had a top basketball player come out in a while. So it was cool to see him come out and be that guy. But also, he's the son of a guy that Knicks fans respect gratefully, and Greg Anthony. So it'd be cool to see him be able to play for that same team that his dad played for. I'm not too sure if the Knicks actually go after him or not. Some other guys in there that I think that they might go after, but definitely it might be safe to say that they're probably going to go point guard with that 8th pick.
I think Cole Anthony is a solid spot. I think a solid pick there. I think maybe like you said, there's some better options, but like you said, his dad
Better options. I don't know if like the Knicks are in love with Cole Anthony.
I think, like you said, the Knicks. I've been saying this for a while. The Knicks need to get like a New Yorker in there, like I was saying with Mark Jackson in the coaching center. They need to get someone the fans are gonna get behind. Like you said, his dad played for them. He grew up in New York. He was the number one point guard coming out of New York. I think a lot of people are down on him right now because he was hurt a lot at North Carolina. He kind of missed most of the season. But even before he got hurt, I seen him play against Syracuse. He played well. He was hitting shots and things like that. I think his shot needs to be worked on a little bit. But I like Cole Anthony for him. I think they should get him in there. Like you said, I don't think they're looking at him, but I think my super pick for them is Cole Anthony. He's very athletic. His shot can be worked on a little bit and things like that. Like you said, they need a point guard.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with them. I think one of the more interesting thing, number one, who goes number one in this draft? I really think it's like a pick'em thing. Like Minnesota has the number one pick, so it's kind of hard for me to see James Wiseman go number one with Minnesota being the pick because you don't really need a big man in there. So like I'm thinking it's either Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball. I'm kind of leaning toward Anthony Edwards to go number one though, and then you pair him up in the backcourt with D'Angelo Russell, try and make a big three out of that with Paul Anthony Towns as well. And then at the number two pick, like first of all, we got to see what happens there. Like if Golden State stays there, like do they want to add LaMelo Ball in there, and you can play him at small forward or play Klay Thompson at small forward and have him in the backcourt, like. Kind of interesting to see what they do there, or if they trade out with Milwaukee, maybe when Milwaukee goes with Wiseman, like you were kind of alluding to, or takes him as well. And then the other thing here, Michael Jordan has gotten a ton of flack in regards to how he runs the Charlotte Hornets organization. They've had lottery picks that have been lower because they had Kemba, so they were bad but not too bad. And they could have got Devin Booker. They chose Frank Kaminsky. They could have had Donovan Mitchell. They chose Malik Monk. Like they've missed out on some good players because of some ineptitude in that front office. The Frank Kaminsky one really was out there though. So you have the third pick in the NBA draft. What are you gonna do with it? And in the Chicago Bulls, it's kind of like we talked about. You got a bunch of young talent in there. Just add another staple in there and see what you could do.
Yeah, I think Minnesota is going to be interesting to me. First of all, how many times has Minnesota had the number one pick in the last 10 years? Is able to get Wiggins? No, they got Wiggins from the Cavs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I think Cat
they
was.
got Cat.
Yeah.
All right, I was wrong. All right, well, they had it twice. They got Cat in 2015. So Minnesota is interesting to me here because to me, where they go depends on who they believe D'Angelo Russell is. If you believe D'Angelo Russell is your point guard, then I think you go Anthony Edwards because you pair them two up in the backcourt. But if you believe D'Angelo Russell is your two guard, I think you go LaMelo Ball because then now you pair them two up in the backcourt. So I think how they look at D'Angelo Russell depends on where they go there. I think Golden State is in the perfect situation. Whether they trade the pick out, that's another thing. But if they end up keeping the pick, they end up taking Wiseman, but they take him at 2. So it's not as much pressure. They have to pay him less. And then their team is kind of complete. You think about it. You get the Splash Brothers back in the backcourt. You have Wiggins at the 3. Wiggins 2020, I ain't forget. You get Wiggins at the 3. You bring Draymond at the 4. And now you have Wiseman at the 5. They're right back in championship contention, if you ask me. Wiseman, you're not going to ask too much out of him. Just ask him to kind of play the Andrew Bogut role and maybe do a little more offense because he can maybe shoot a little bit and dribble a little bit. But first year or so, we're not going to ask too much out of him. Just play that big man role. And I think for him, that's relieves a lot of pressure off him. And it's going to get him a lot of open shots, kind of like Gobert. He's just going to be picking and rolling, catching lobs and things like that. So I think that's perfect for Golden State. They have another solid starting 5 again, and then you just fill out the bench. For the Charlotte, I am happy for Charlotte. Shout out to Charlotte because I feel like here they can't go wrong. They're getting the number 3 pick. They have gone wrong in a lot of other situations, but like I said, their pick to me is going to come down to what the Timberwolves do. I think Wiseman's a lock at the 2, and then if you basically take whoever the Timberwolves don't take. If they take LaMelo Ball, you take Anthony Edwards. If they take Anthony Edwards, you take LaMelo Ball. I think they probably would. I guess they got Terry Rozier. I would like to see LaMelo Ball go there, but
You better not make Terry Rozier. But you better not. Your pick better not be contingent on how much you like Terry Rozier.
I was just saying
that would be exactly what I was talking about with the Hornets.
I was just thinking, which one would they rather prefer, maybe? Because you think about you have a point guard, so you probably want the scorer next to him. So you think you got Terry Rozier and Anthony Edwards in the backcourt. So I was kind of thinking about which one maybe they they,
Take
they
the
would
best
prefer.
available player, please.
I think I like LaMelo Ball for him. Someone he's played professional. We know about his brother. We know about his dad. He's been in the limelight. He's not really scared of the limelight. We really don't know too much about his jump shot. I think he'll kind of get it together. But he's 6'7". He's very crafty. He's a good passer, flashy passer. So I like LaMelo Ball for him. I think they need something like that over there. But I'm just happy that they got into a top pick. Charlotte's kind of been not too good for a while now. So I'm just happy they got up there to finally be able to get someone in there, especially after Kemba left. And as far as the Bulls, I think the Bulls definitely go just best player available. I think we talked about the talent that they had on here multiple times. They're gonna be looking for a new coach. I think their starting five is kind of solid if you think about it, with Kobe White, uh,
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine, you got Otto Porter, then you go Larry Marketing, then you go Wendell Carter Jr. So I think they're solid. Their starting five is solid. I think for them, you just go best person available. So I don't know who maybe the fourth best person is available in the draft right now, but maybe if one of those teams end up taking someone we didn't expect, maybe Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball falls down to them or something like that, which is just boosted their bench and things like that. So I think this draft is going to be very interesting. There's, like a lot of people have been saying, there's no solid number one pick here, and I think that's something to watch out for. But Cole Anthony to the Knicks at 8.
I really don't see that happening. It would be nice, but I don't. I don't want to say shocked. I'd be a little surprised if the Knicks took Cole Anthony, though. I just from what I've been seeing, I don't think that they love him as much as like everybody expected. But great points by you though. So I mean, we'll see what happens, man. Got a great game coming back on. This episode will be out when that game's over. So, but if check it out if you can anyway. And we'll catch you guys next time, man. That was your weekly rundown. We will see you guys.